Firstly, before you start printmaking, just make sure that you know where everything's kept. Always first look in the cupboard. Some problems we can encounter with our printmaking are not allowing enough of each colour to come through, so think and plan. It's very important to look after our foam. Never ever fold it in half or accidentally bend it, because that will always translate into your printing. Always print with clean hands, and if your hands get dirty, stop and wash them in between. Registration is really important. You must put your second colour perfectly on top of the first colour. Under-inking can be a major problem, both for your first colour and your second colour. You can, in some cases, get away with it in your first colour, but you cannot when you do your second colour. Listen to the sound of the ink as I ink up. It should sound like Velcro ripping. If you can't hear that sound, then you've either got too much ink or not enough. When inking up your foam, always be careful of how much ink is going on. You don't want to flood it, which means put too much ink in, or under ink it, which will leave it all light and not properly printed. Equally so, you need to make sure that you get all your edges and corners equally inked up as well. Be mindful of the mess that you leave behind, and always leave the space after you've printed clean for the next person. If you're having trouble lining up your foam when you're first printing it, try this method instead. It may help you put it in the center of the paper more successfully. Notice as I'm rolling the back of my piece of paper that I'm carefully holding the foam underneath. I roll away from myself while I hold the foam at the bottom. And when I want to print the bottom, I hold the foam at the top and roll towards myself. This stops the foam from moving. When I'm satisfied that I've actually rolled the back of the foam enough to transfer the image, then I put my hand at the bottom and I carefully peel from the top. I don't want to crease my paper. Dirty hands can destroy a great print. Wash your hands. Know the difference of the sounds when you've got too much ink and not enough. Also, notice how I solve the problem when there's too much ink as I'm rolling. If there's too much ink on the piece of Perspex, then the easiest way to solve this problem is to push very hard so the roller itself doesn't roll, and push the excess ink back to the top of the Perspex. Check for the right sound. If it's still not coming, then push more ink back to the top. Don't try and ink up your foam unless you're actually convinced that it's correct. And if you're not sure, ask someone. Finally, when you get to your second colour, make sure two things happen. Firstly, that you put your foam on the right direction so you don't print it upside down. And secondly, you register it properly. That means you perfectly line it up. Again, if your hands are dirty, stop and go and clean them. If you think you're clever enough not to touch your work, then try it. But you do take a great risk in destroying a lovely print. So much easier to wash your hands. It's so much easier to wash your hands and be able to continue with the printing process, not afraid of ruining a great print. And here's the final print with both colours on it. Notice the high contrast between light and dark colours.